Hey guys, we are going to take a look at my very first Stratocaster technology, my Fender Stratocaster American. This is the original Fender pickguard that came on my 2011 Stratocaster. It's a 3-ply Alnico pickups. It has all plastic wiring, and actually the soldering on there is not any better than any of the Chinese guitars that I got. And you'll notice here that the capacitor is a polyester, just like the ones I bought and use in all of my changes to my budget guitars. Whoop! And it's a 23. So of course it comes with a Fender switch. These are CTS pots, 2 tones and a volume. And I was just playing with this one, which is supposed to be, I guess, the tone for the middle and a tone for the neck. There's no tone for the bridge, which is the strangest thing on Fender Stratocasters. I don't understand why. But this one is a different pot from the other ones. See, the other ones are both CTS like this, but this one is CTS. But when you get to the most forward position, there's a little notch, and when I tested it with my meter, it goes off. So it's a 0 until you turn it back, and then you start to get into the 250K as you roll it backwards. This one doesn't have that. For some reason, why they did that on this one, don't know. Maybe somebody knows, let me know. Now, the other thing I noticed is that on my bridge pickup, they have 2 big black screws on either side of the bottom of this bobbin. Why they did that too, I don't know. The poles on the pickups are staggered, but not all exactly the same. These two are approximately the same, but the height of the poles up here on the neck are not. Usually when you get staggered, the 2 middle ones are up on the middle of the pickups, and then the other ones are down. Extremely strange. I got this guitar for $800. It was listing at $1,200 at the time. So we're going to take a look at this pickguard, and we're going to put it on my test jig guitar, and then I'm going to compare it to the pickguard that I put on here on my guitar. But the other thing I noticed was when I was turning this pot, trying to figure out what the problem with it was, why does it have this funny feel to it, the knob started turning, and I'm going, what the hell, the pot's broken. But then I got this off, and there are no splines inside the pots. None. They're just made to friction with the splines that are on the pot. Ooh, who knew? On the guitar now, there is Texas Custom Guitars pickups from Texas. I have a certificate of authenticity that came with it. Instructions on the back on how to install it. And this is the original case of the pickguard that I had to buy to match my guitar, because the one they sent me, which I'm not sure where it is, probably in another box, the pickguard holes didn't match this one. And I told them it was a 2011, and they sent me one that wasn't a 2011. So I ended up buying one and transferring all the parts. I've mentioned this before in some other videos a long time ago. Transferring all the parts from their pickguard to my pickguard and just putting it in, because when I bought this guitar, I had no idea about guitar things. None. Now I know too much. But I'm always learning. There's always somebody who's got tips that I learn from on YouTube University. And I enjoy that a lot. So without further ado, I'm going to move this box. I'm going to get my test jig out. I'm going to get to mount this pick guard on my test jig, and we'll go give it a test. The reason why I changed that to begin with was when I first got it, I didn't have any tuned ears for sound, and for some reason I didn't like the sound of that because it didn't sound like Stratocaster guitars that I was hearing people play, and I had no idea that you could change any of that stuff at the time. So I decided that I was gonna. Somebody said they could, change them. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna buy something. So I listened to different things, and I found this website called Texas Customs in Houston. As a matter of fact, I think they're CF Music here. P.O. Box something out Houston, Texas. This is the original box their pickguard came in. So I just put the this full Stratocaster pickguard in there, and I said, I'm just gonna save that. At the time that I bought this, I had no idea I'd run about 70 guitars through my basement in retirement. All right, I'm gonna put you on hold. I gotta go get my jig and set this thing up and try to get it on there. All right, here's the 911 on it. My test jig pickguard has this cut off so it can just slide in nicely underneath the neck overhang, fretboard overhang. But this one doesn't. I had to remove the neck to get it under there. I've got it on with 3 screws like I normally have. Now there's a big hollow opening on the inside. Sometimes that makes a difference, but in the sound. But the other thing is that now that I've done that, I've got it back up to tension. I had to readjust my string heights because when you take the neck off and put it back on, it never goes back exactly the same as it was before. And I've got this screw which needs to be filled and re-drilled because it's just buzzing around in there. It's tight though, and the other ones are fine. There is a shim in this neck. Now this was set up perfectly. I could slip any pickups on the other pickguard and just put it in there and just play it with adjusting of tuning since I built this thing, and it worked just fine. Now I'll have to get the neck off again in order to take that out of there, and again it'll cause me to go through the whole thing to put the jig back together the way it was. So now I might have a little bit of a truss rod as well, so I've got to let it sit, and we'll be back in a second, and we'll go to the amp and see what happens. Okay, we're at the amp. The lighting's not going to be that great for this demonstration, so I've got this thing tuned up, everything adjusted, and we're on the standard 65 Deluxe reverb with just my minor delay and reverb like I always test every guitar. And I'm going to record this in Audacity to compare the outputs. Okay, here we go. All right. Had to look there to see to make sure I didn't have anything turned on. Alright, this is the original Fender pickguard. And again, this hollow back sometimes makes things sound a little bit louder. Now I can measure this pickguard. This is 7.3K on the bridge, 5.9 5.8 on the neck. I tried to measure the pickups on here, but it won't measure. It's kind of like there's an inline filter. And we're going to take this off. I'm going to disassemble. We're going to take this off and take a look at the back of this thing to see how this is wired, this Texas Customs. Alright, everything is up as the other one was. This guitar weighs 8 pounds even with this alder body. Okay, we're going to record this in Audacity. Haha. Alright, I'm going to show you the two waveforms. Stand by. Okay, so here's my monitor, and this upper trace is the Texas Customs pickguard. Let's see what that sounds like. Okay, so it sounds clean, but you can see that it's a little bit low. If we switch over here to, this is the original Fender, you can see the trace amplitude is larger. So you can see that because the trace is larger, you also have a louder output. Today, with my experience over the last number of years, I would not pick the Texas Customs output over the original Fender. Now that amplitude might be because of the hollow body on the test jig as well. I don't know what it will look like if I put it back in the Fender body. So right now I would select to have the original Fender over the Texas Customs, which is up here on the top. Okay, so the next step is to go to the workbench and disassemble my Fender original and see what's on that back of that pickguard. They called it tube and turbo wiring. So I just put it in as it was. I didn't know any better at the time, so we're going to do a detailed analysis of what's in this tube and turbo pickguard and find out why I can't read the pickups from the jack. If I can figure out that problem, maybe if I can rewire it as per normal, it will work better. So anyway, that's what we're going to do next. Off to the bench, and we'll be right back. Okay, I've got the neck screws out. Let's see how it comes out of the pocket. It's tight, but I think it's tight because of the pickguard. When I installed that, I didn't have any tools to be able to make sure that that was okay. So this Fender has that tilt facility like a built-in shim. I haven't used it because I really didn't understand it. So let's hate this capo. They curved the bottom so that you could use it to take pins off of an acoustic guitar, but when you try to use it, it pops right out of your hand. So that's a bit of a pain. Okay, I've readjusted the camera. Okay, let's see what's under this pickguard. Okay, we'll go with the faster one. I'll speed this up. And I've got really short wire. See, there's a little tube in here. All right. Now, I've got those wires wrangled in with the grounds. Okay, so I've got some strange stuff. I tried to do a printout, but of course my HP printer is telling me cartridges are empty or they're counterfeit and won't let me print, even though I've refilled them and they're legal cartridges. So I've got a capacitor there. Is that the common ground? Yeah. That's the common ground. So I've got like a tube with two prongs on one side. Don't know what was on the other side, but it's all knurled up with solder. And one leg comes from underneath there. Underneath there somewhere. And they didn't use a box switch on this thing. They put in one of those heavy-duty metric style switches, box switch. I should say a wafer switch. They put in one of those things. Oh, the pots are not branded Bournes, they're branded Texas. Got their own name on them. And they've got copper plates on the bottom of their pickups. You know, these pickups might be okay. I'm going to measure them right from here. And we're going to see what they are measuring. Whoop, get over there. Something's really off. So they wrapped the wires in a piece of wire, not a tie wrap, just a piece of, pushback. Over here they've got them wrapped in actual wire. Really strange workmanship. Oh, and that's part of the grounding wire, the bus wire that goes across all the pots. Here it is. They've got an inline capacitor. That's why I can't read the pots, the pickups. They've got an inline capacitor from the output going into the volume pot. Yeah, so they've just put an inline capacitor filter. I don't know what it is though. So we've got something we don't understand there. Where does this go? This goes. But I still don't understand why I can't read these pickups directly here. I probably have to disconnect some of the other stuff that might be running in parallel with it. Now I've got one capacitor for the bottom tone, which is jumped. Ooh, this capacitor has 3 leads. How the hell did they do that? It's got 3 leads? I think it's got, no. Okay, it does have 3 leads. It has 4 leads. They twisted 2 to go here and they twisted 2 to go there. And really tight too. I think this one will come off easily. Famous last words, eh? Easy. Okay, so that's now disconnected. I wonder if my automatic meter will actually read the value of that capacitor. I know that meter's out of sight right now. Auto, and it's not reading the capacitor. Okay, that's capacitance. It says overload. Huh. That's very strange. Alright, I've got to do some unsoldering here, and I'll be right back. Alright, now that I've got some stuff disconnected, I've got the pickups opened. Okay, so white is neck, blue, yellow. So the neck is, oh, a respectable 875. Middle, 862. And the neck, 875. So respectable numbers. And the pickups are not all gummed up with this stuff. Yeah. And my meter will not read the value of these capacitors. It will not read these capacitors. What about this one open now? OL. Don't know what they are. No value printed anywhere. I can't read it. So there's that little vacuum tube in parallel with what looks like a capacitor. And it's milky on the top. That tells me that it's broken. It's not really a vacuum anymore. I've been around since the tube age. I used to work on tubes when I first got into electronics. If you get milky in the top of a tube anywhere like that, that's because there's a break in it somewhere and air got in, so there's no longer a vacuum. I think there's a crack here, probably from soldering. The heat from the soldering iron. Alright. I'm not a fan of these switches. Okay, so let's measure the pots. Let's measure the pots. Let's measure the pots. Well, I'm on nanos. Back to auto. You guys see that? No, eh? Oh, a little better. What it said. 232. 236. 256. Okay. Well, the pots are all right. I can keep those. But we're definitely going to get rid of that switch. Patent pending. I don't know why there's a patent pending. It's a copy of a metric heavy duty switch. They call it heavy duty. I don't know why, because it's basically the same kind of switch as the other ones that come here with a PCB layout on it. Yes, we're here. This switch PCB should come off of there. That PCB should come off of there. We take this thing apart. It's a bunch of little springs and ball bearings and screws falling out. Okay, so it's not a PCB, but it's close. There's a bunch of little ball bearings, and it has tiny little tracks, metal tracks like that, which means it's better than the PCB ones where a slider just runs across a PCB track on a board like that. But 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Ooh, look at the ball bearings. Look how tiny those things are. I don't know how the hell they put them together. Anywho, I don't need to worry about it. Little screws, y'all might need little screws every so often. Alright, we'll put another switch in there. So we're going to wire this in a more traditional manner, because these things are reading 8, and 8 should be pretty good, because the ones on the Fender pickguard, what is it, 7.3, 5.6, 5.9 and 5.8. And this is like 8, 8, and 8, so whew, pretty good. Alright, so I just got to look at this bus wire here. I think I might be able to leave that in there. Leave it underneath like that, so I don't have to worry about it. Now all these wires I'll have to determine where I'm going to go and put them, and I got to get myself a 5-position wafer switch. There's a nice little jumper wire if you need it. So I'm going to get the switch. I'm going to prepare it for installation with the jumper wire that I need, and then I'll be back. We're back. So the new wafer switch is in. It's been rewired to middle and neck volume, bridge volume, master tone, as I like to have them. I used 22 polyester, just like they did on the Fender pickguard. And so we're going to do the tap test. Let's see what we got. Up, up, up. On. I heard the amp. That works. Okay. I should be getting something in the middle. So what's going on there? microphone is working. I should have these two clicking. Okay, we have a problem. Hold on. Okay, the problem is solved. I just had to reflow a couple of joints just to make sure. Alrighty, so we're going to put this Texas Customs back on this guitar. And see if there's any difference at all from the way they had it done. Now, I'm going to have a problem with fitment. Should not. Okay, I'm going to have to also file a little bit of material off the edge of this. I'll be back.